Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Senate Transportation. We will start with, if you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Senator Gendro, do the honors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? We have our bill for the 10-year plan 2024. I'd like a motion.
Move to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
We got amendments,
we have to do the amendments before we don't pass the bill first. Okay. All right.
so.
Well,
somebody-
is there any discussion first on the bill itself?
Near perfection, and we will make it perfection in the Senate Transportation. How
Okay.
about that?
Okay, so we will go with to approve and take a look at amendment 1882S.
I'll move amendment 1882S.
Second?
Is there some discussion?
So just to review,
1882.
That's it, 1882.
Thought I heard 1888. Okay, 1882. Okay, got it.
Okay.
all right?
Yep.
So just to review, this amendment adds the Milford project, the Hampton project, the buses, and then Hudson is withdrawn. And then the program corridor study is increased. And where is, Madam Chair, the deletion of the Continental Boulevard? Is that in the renumbering we got here? Okay.
Yes, Senator Grant Bossy, Deputy Chief of Staff, New Hampshire Senate. In renumbering this, that was the old Section 10, and the old Section 10 is simply not included in the redraft. So that provision is now gone in the bill as amended, if you adopt this amendment. So Continental Boulevard will stay where it is in the state turnpike
All right,
system.
so well, if we're amending, we got nine, we got an 8, and we got a 9, and we got an 11, but does that explicitly delete section 10?
Yeah, as you can see on line 16, there's now an amend section, the new Section 10, and there simply isn't a new Continental Boulevard provision reinserted. So that is now gone.
Okay.
From
I
the
just
bill.
wanted to, for the public record, make that clear.
Yes.
Okay, we're good, thank you. So I think that covers all, and I know that there was discussion with Chair McConkey and with Vice Chair, with Minority Leader, what do they call it, Ranking Member as well, so they're apprised of what we're doing.
Is there any other discussion from members of the committee? Okay,
I'm not quite sure I know where we are.
okay.
I have the original bill, and I have an amendment replacing the bill, replacing all of the enacting clause, 1521. Is that the one we're working with?
We are working with 1882.
Yeah, but if I may,
Oh, go
Madam
ahead.
Chair.
That's-
So
that's
yes,
an amendment.
yes, you're right, Senator, when we first moved House
2024.
Bill 2024, that's what you have in your left hand.
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, so that was that's the overriding
Okay.
motion,
Now
and
we know
then
what we're doing.
the amendment is the amendment to that is
Yes,
what we're
okay,
working
okay,
with.
fine,
Okay,
yep.
sorry for making that confusing. And Madam Chair, if I may ask, I have not seen this, and so how do you want to handle this in relationship to the 1882?
So this came about, I believe, yesterday, and Senator Ward will speak to it. It's an amendment that she worked out with the Department of Transportation. So I thought we would do the underlying bill, which we did, then this amendment, and then bring in this amendment.
So would you like us to vote on 1882 and then we discuss this?
Correct.
All right, so why don't we vote on it?
So may I have a motion on 1882?
I did, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those,
Was there a
second?
Second.
And all those in favor? of
Aye.
Okay, aye, none opposed. Now we want to introduce the Second Amendment, V2 draft.
Yes, this is a draft amendment. This would be adopted as a committee amendment if the committee agrees to it. It is cooking in OLS, but hasn't come out yet. This is their language. It just hasn't gone through the full approval process. We wanted to give you something on paper to look at. This was Senator Ward's suggestion. Senator Ricciardi joined and asked me to have it drafted. This would essentially push back the Charlestown Bridge project by 2 years, allow them to do preliminary work, but not actually close off the bridge to traffic until January 1st, 2027 at the earliest.
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
please.
Does this change the amount of funding?
No, this is the same amount of funding that was in the current plan.
May I speak to it?
Oh, please.
Okay. The reason for the delay is that there's an awful lot of work on roads around the area that need to be done. And why do a bridge job together with the road work? Do one and fix that, and then there will be enough time to figure out if we have, how we're gonna get the money for the bridge. And hopefully it will be reduced. The time that it takes to fix it will be reduced. And for all those who are very concerned, this is not a red listed bridge, so we are not desperate. But the thing is that this bridge is used so much for traffic between Vermont and Charlestown for all the industry that is in Charlestown. So it's a very important way of commute between those two states. So.
And if I may, Senators, this was my attempt at drafting to get the policy that Senator Ward wanted. The department is here. If I did it incorrectly, I would ask you to be open to their suggestions on that.
Well, how do you think procedurally what ought we to do? Because if we pass the committee amendment, will then Sophie go to OLS with what they're working on there?
Yes, a committee can adopt any number of amendments, and then OLS fuses them into one committee amendment that goes into the calendar. All the changes that a committee makes get boiled
So we
into
wouldn't
one
have
committee.
to re-vote on anything, and if for some reason the language here is not exactly the same as what is in what OLS produces as a committee amendment, would we need a floor amendment?
You wouldn't necessarily need a floor amendment. This is, I said, you are voting on the draft. OLS can then adopt what you want and make sure it all flows together. They often have to make very small technical changes. They'd have to do renumbering, that sort of thing. But the gist of the policy and the dollar amount would be the same. And then they would make it work as a committee amendment as a whole. This might come in as a project added. It might be a new section 8. Everything else gets bumped down a section. They would be able to do that at OLS with Sophie's help. And that would have to get in the calendar by Thursday.
So I guess my only thought is that if it turns out that there's something that's considerably different from what we are voting on today, that I would think probably we ought to go to floor amendment. If OLS thinks that what they have to draft is enough different from what we voted on.
This is the language I got from
Okay,
OLS.
so, all right.
So if there
trying to
are
be
changes, they would be minor. I would hope they would be minor, unless they discover,
All right.
they can always discover a drafting error, and that we can usually fix with a floor amendment.
So
Yes.
it's on them. Thank you. And, Madam Chair, have you had a chance to talk with McConkey or anybody about this one?
No, so this came up late yesterday
Okay.
afternoon, and
Yeah.
I haven't stopped, so I haven't even,
Anyways,
Yeah.
we'll have time to just chat with them, because as long as there's no dollar amount changed, then I don't imagine. I was talking to representative today who's up, represents that area, and said what we're trying to do about it. So I don't think there's any problem on their committee, but just to make sure they have a heads up. Could we have Commissioner Cass come up? for a
Of
second?
course.
Good afternoon, Senators. Bill Cass for the Department of Transportation.
Welcome.
If I may ask a question. Thank you, Commissioner. And so I know when this came before, there was a conversation about the letter, the barge, the this is the that, so trying to accommodate the town. And so I guess I have a couple questions. So you feel okay with the 2027 in terms of your scheduling of work? Because I know you had it scheduled earlier.
I think we can accommodate it. I don't think it will hurt anything. I think it ties our hands a little bit in terms of trying to work out an arrangement with the town. In the letter I provided, I think the department and I had committed to working with the town to find a reasonable solution. There's a public informational meeting tomorrow night that we're going to continue the dialogue and the discussion with the town, with other alternatives and much reduced impacts in terms of the closure and stuff. So, in an ideal world, we've already moved the advertising date a year. Our goal would be to advertise something late next year and construct it in 26 and 27 if the town and everybody is agreeable to the alternative. So this January 2027 just feels a little arbitrary and restrictive toward those towards those discussions. But if that's the will based on your input from the community, Senator, we can certainly accommodate that. But I do pledge that we want to work to accommodate the town's concerns in what we're doing. So the one other just point that I would make, which would make me feel a little bit more comfortable as well too, the last preposition there with $1.3 million in 2025, that's an old number. I know as we've discussed alternatives and as we continue to discuss alternatives, that cost is going to change. So rather than in this very current piece of legislation have a number that I know is outdated and have that in conflict with things we'll be talking about with the public on Wednesday, I think it reads just as well if we just put a period right at the end of Transportation Improvement
I was
Plan.
going to ask you about this.
Yeah.
If you delay, what are the costs going to do?
We're still working out the cost, and it's out of an overall
sense to you.
programmatic bridge preservation, so the financial fiscal constraint impact is not.
Can I ask one more? Sure. Here. So, I note the wording here, provided that public access to the bridge is not closed until January 1st, 2027 at the earliest. So if you come up with a plan in which public access was not closed, so that you had one lane,
Mhm.
you had the barge or whatever, this would not tie your hands.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right.
So good. Thank you. I think it's good to have that on the record. So I guess what I sort of said we're trying to get at, if they came up with a good
Yeah,
plan
absolutely.
and they could get it out to bid and get it worked on
Yep.
and accommodate the town, it wouldn't have to wait until the 2027.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, of
I just think it's good to get this all aired out.
Thank you.
So I will move a committee amendment that will take 1882 with this draft language.
Okay, I'm going to second that.
I'll second it.
Everyone in favor of the amendment ought to pass with the committee amendments. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and none opposed?
So why don't you move up to pass as amended?
All right, I
You're the
move,
chair.
I move on to pass as amended.
I'll second. This is the big moment.
The big moment.
10-year plan.
10-year
Go.
plan, okay.
Go, Senator, go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed.
Okay, bravo.
Is there any other discussion while we're in executive session?
We don't have anything else to do, do we?
I will.
I just want to clarify for Sophie's benefit that the amendment you moved was putting a period after transportation
Yes.
improvement plan and not including the dollar amount.
Yes.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to come out of executive council, please?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. None opposed.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Good job.
Hit the road, Jack.
This was a great, thank you, everyone. We had a good hearing here. Probably one of the better.
Okay.
And I will say, Madam Chair, that if we could possibly find noon time in the next 2 weeks, I would be happy to take the committee out to lunch.
Oh, that's so nice.
We've done that on occasion, and but
We had a good year.
if we could find a time to do that, that's the question.
Thank you.
Maybe, Sophie, would you mind seeing if there's a, I mean, when, maybe